I should probably put this in front of every single one of my videos that the person attempting to speak is not to be trusted or taken seriously in any capacity, and any of the nonsense that he spouts should not be taken as an advice, a guide, or some instructions. But if I were to do so, it would have to be at least somewhat original every time, and I have nowhere near enough competency to even try to achieve that, so I will just sprinkle them over the intro whenever I actually remember to do so, as these cautions are important for my own conscience, but not as much. Nevertheless, I am actually going to jolt my memory on the cleft sentences, the introductory it, followed by a sentence in informal English and normal English, usually beginning with that. In formal English, which is what I care about, we use where, when, who, occasionally which, but according to my sources, it is incorrect to use why and how. So, for example, it was in the attic where I found the item, but a sentence, it was using my eyes, how I found it, is simply incorrect. Although to my Czech ears it sounds perfectly reasonable, but who am I to argue? Then there are the sentences using what, who, which. What I found in the attic was an item. Oh, and the form it was I who found it is considered very formal. In comparison, it was me who found it is considered normal English. Then there is the all I want is an attic. Additionally, there are some other constructions using because, there, but in general it is used to put emphasis on a certain information contained in a sentence, introduce a new information through focusing on a certain part of it. It is definitely a topic that I will have to revisit to properly establish it in my mind, although it is not something that I would not be able to understand or use, just that it might require a bit more practice. Speaking of which, my writing, and in this video I would like to briefly talk about diseases, some abnormal conditions, maledictions, and other ailments that might somehow affect the characters of that world, somehow thwart their normal functioning, and in my opinion, what should cause them, since it is a fictional, different world, should also be something other than viruses, bacteria, or fungi, some parasites, and so on. And these afflictions should also cause distress in a way unique to that world rather than just a headache or vomiting or a fever. Here I just have to outright admit it. I have no idea how to achieve that. Well, I might have one or two of them, which I would be able to somehow justify and introduce in a somewhat organic way, but then there are also treatments, how the other characters react to someone who is somehow afflicted, if there are some that can be under certain circumstances somehow beneficial, and how to do that. Hence, this will be a topic that I will definitely revisit, feeling a sort of a obligation to throw something more interesting at my characters other than a common cold. Now, when this is all nice and dandy, something untoward has been hurled at the rapid arrows, and now the boys have to deal with the consequences. They are on the road again. Besides the figurative sense, they literally are walking on a road, making plans on how to spend the rest of it, taking the fact that they are equipped with sleeping bags into consideration, which means that they are not in danger of freezing to death if they do decide to simply lay down on the nearest meadow. We also have the usual grumbling from Speedy, who is jokingly misquoting some medical journal, claiming that a healthy young man should sleep at least 10 hours a day to stay that way, which means that since he has not slept even an hour yet, his well-being, his physical condition is in serious jeopardy, swearing that he will never ever accompany them again, which we all know is an extremely empty promise. But then Yarka spots the other group of miscreants in the distance, the people who were smoking in the haystack next to them, and that most likely caused the accident itself. Considering the damages they have caused, they decide to follow them, hoping to maybe find out more about this group of people, the leader of which decides on their camping spot, asserting that he is not going to take even a single step further tonight. Meanwhile, the rapid arrows are observing them, seeing as they are calmly lighting a big fire. There does not appear to be much in terms of remorse, so they sneak closer. Maybe they will overhear something incriminating. So, as the gang is leisurely roasting, I suppose, frankfurters over the fire, relishing in the fact that since they managed to vanish before anyone found out about them, the suspicion will fall on the heads of the other boys, the Rapid Arrows, unaware of the fact that the Rapid Arrows are in the clear. But then one of them notices the presence of someone behind the bushes. Before they can investigate further, our spy escapes successfully, meaning they now have a confession, and all they have to do is to safely extract themselves out of the situation and into safety, as the members of the band straight up said, "We are glad someone else will take the blame for us because we had run away before anyone got to us." That leads to the boys going back to the road, amongst comments on how this is one unforgettable night for all of them. After barely a few steps, headlights appear on the horizon, Yarka hopes that they might be able to get a ride, at least bringing them slightly closer to their final goal, fishery, whereas Mirek has the impression that the car might belong to the police, and it does, as it stops right next to them. Two officers come out, likely called by the farmer, and they address the boys, asking them about the situation in the barn and around the haystack. They explain everything to them and point them in the direction of the culprits who are camping nearby. And the final panel is them with their sleeping bags, a nice campfire, swimming in a large body of water at last. This scenario is obviously not completely realistic, but anyway, it's fiction, it's a comic book, it is from the 60s, and it is for young adults. So, anyway, everything went well. The video is over, and in the next one, I will try to go over some other aspects of the English language and then inch ever closer to the end of this comic book and towards the beginning of the book's saga.